Ooh, this is exciting. How's it going? What's up? Adam here, and today we're going to talk about critiquing your own work with the intention of kind of getting better, because that's my goal, and if you share a similar intention, then this is for you, and if you don't, maybe you'll watch it, you'll like it, and you'll follow along. Maybe you're watching this video because you don't want to read the blog, or maybe you read the blog and you're watching the video as well. So I'm going to put some images on the screen as we go through. Basically, I'm going through and looking at them on my computer. You can also follow along my blog if you want, but I'll also flash them up on here a little. Maybe I won't cover my face, but I'll at least give you an idea of what they look like. So yeah, here we go. Critiquing my own work or other people's work was something I kind of learned really early on in photography, and it helps me grow, progress, and get better as a photographer. I really rely on it, to be honest. I feel confident that it can help other people, so I think the sooner you learn about it and the sooner you learn how to do it, the better it is for you to become a better photographer. That being said, you kind of gotta separate yourself from your work. So if somebody comes up to you and they're like, "Hey, you took a really great photo." You go, "Thank you, that's awesome." It doesn't mean you're the best person, and on the contrary, if they tell you you don't like your photo, it doesn't mean you're the worst person. You gotta kind of separate yourself from that. So if anybody tells me they don't like my work, that's awesome. I want to hear why, I want to learn from it. I'm never getting defensive. I'm never like, "Hey, back off," don't not like my work. I'm passionate, I'm connected to my work. It is how I express emotion, it's how I learned about emotion, but at the same time I can take a step back and kind of distance myself from it with the intention of being able to learn from what people say about it. So it's kind of like this juggling act. It's like, okay, I care about my work, I'm passionate about it, it is my feelings, I convey emotion with it, while at the same time I want to be able to accurately receive other people's compliments, praise, constructive criticism, and things along those lines, so I need to be able to separate myself from it, because otherwise you can get upset, you can get hurt, and when those things happen, they kind of cloud your judgment, they cloud your learning process, and it's not very, it doesn't help you learn. So I'm going to use my photos as an example here, and keep in mind, I'm just showing you what I like today. And I take, let's see, I put the numbers in here. It's something like, I took like 16,000 photos throughout 30 days on tour with the band A Day to Remember. Every day, I turn in 10 to 20 images. There's about 30 days. It ended up being about 700 images or 800 images or something. Math's off a little bit there, but you get the idea. So I've actually narrowed it down to 30, and this was kind of a challenge to myself to be able to critique and really focus on what I like, because there's so many images that I think I like, but I really nitpick them, look at them, find something I don't like about it, and then scrap it. So I've narrowed it down to, what is that, 5%? 5% of my 700 or so images are now like 25 images, and the math again is probably very incorrect there, but you know what I mean. It's a very small fraction of the total images. First on the blog, there's a bunch of images of what it's like for me on the road. If you're not familiar with what I do, I travel with bands, musicians, and I photograph them on and off stage. So I photograph their life, and my relationship with them is very important. My relationship when I hang out with them is how I get my images. So that is a big part of my job, and I like to show that through images. Sometimes selfies, sometimes photos I've taken on my camera, things like that. So you can check those out. I've got a photo of me shooting. There's a photo of my bunk, that's where I sleep at night, and it's on the bus with the band. We have a few different buses, however, I like to be with the band because I photograph them all the time. Not all the images are for the internet, and that doesn't mean that they're like crazy things are happening. I just tell an artist, when I'm with you, we're not shooting for the internet, although that's what most of the images will be used for. The most important goal, although not immediate, is that when 30 years from now you can look back and be like, oh, here's that one time late at night on the bus when we're all sitting in the back lounge watching a movie together. And that's cool, and that might not be a public image, but to show their family that when they're a lot older, that's going to be really crucial and important and sentimental to them in their lives, and I make a point to do that. So the next photo is a photo of my bunk, which is where I edit photos at night sometimes. Then I got a photo of me at the gym. There's actually nobody from A Day to Remember in this. There's Papa Roach, Falling in Reverse, and some crew members, and we're at the gym working out. It was an out-of-focus photo of me. I always kind of make the joke that, hey, whenever somebody takes my camera, they mess up the photograph. So it looks something like that, and that's with my friend Kellen in San Francisco. There's a mirror photo there of me with the singer of A Day to Remember. His name is Jeremy, and I thought that was funny because it kind of shows our friendship a little bit. And then there's a photo of me in a Spider-Man mask I stole from somebody's Instagram, borrowed from their Instagram, but I hope that's fine. I screenshot it, so that's kind of like credit, right? Yeah, I also do that during the show, and I thought that was funny. Brad Heaton. Brad is a photographer I've known for a while. I met him at Warped Tour a long time ago, and I met up with him in New York, so I thought that was cool. And then me with Lewis, and Lewis is a photographer from Florida who has toured with another band called Wage War, and also he tours with A Day to Remember sometimes, and I love hanging out with him, so there's a photo with him as well. And that is by, I think that was by Chris Martin, so thank you, Chris, for taking that. He's another photographer from Florida, lived in LA, back in Florida now, but check him out as well. Like I said, I take a lot of photos, 5,000 a day, I turn in 500 to 1,000 a day, I turn in a fraction of those, I critique every day, but then after the tour's over, I go back through and I really look through those images, hone down on them, and to make a blog, I usually pick, 5 to 10 photos from each day, and if there's 30 days, that's 300 photos, and I'll present those to you. However, for this one, I wanted to do something a little different. I wanted to break it down even further and kind of talk about what it's like to critique your own work. Maybe I should have showed some of the images I don't like, but basically if you go to anything the band's posted, those are images that I don't like, mostly, except for the images on here. And when I say I don't like them, it's not that they're bad images or that they don't get the job done. There's a kind of a line you have to draw there. The images are just not perfect in my opinion. I'm an artist, but I am also a working human, and it's kind of like anything in life. Most of your work, most of what you get paid for isn't going to be portfolio worthy, but that doesn't mean you got your job done. Didn't get your job done. It's like a baker, they bake cakes every day, but they're not going to like say that this is my best cake I've ever made, but maybe once a week or something they make a cake they're really proud of, and that would be an analogy that works for my work. So, starting off here, we've got a photo of Kevin. These next group of photos were all taken outside the Great Saltero, which is in the Salt Flats outside of Salt Lake City, and it's one of my favorite venues. I've been there. This is my 4th time going there. I've been there with a few different bands, and I always try to shoot outside. And that day, kind of a last-minute thing, but we got some sunset shots, and those were actually taken with this camera right here. And this camera is called the Sigma Quattro DP2. It's one of my personal favorite cameras. Very good in studio light and daylight, not good in low light, so I can't shoot concerts with it, but insane quality. If it were up to me, I say in this, I would like to get really close to people's faces and just grab pictures of their eyes with this, because it's awesome. I zoom into photos all the time with it, but these photos are with that, and I like playing with that empty space in the images. It's one of my favorite things, is to have all the empty space and really that's why I like silhouettes so much as well, is because it's more about the shape and about the figure and about what's going on in the space than about, I don't know, how cool this jump is or something like that. So that's why I like those images. And I took a lot of other images in this, and I just don't like them as much. These ones are my favorite. I tend to crop more like cinematic, so more wide, because I think it gives it a movie-like effect. So that was the goal here. And yeah, you can check those out. So here they are. We got Kevin. We got Josh, we got Jeremy, and we have Neil in a really wide open, I tried to get a wide open shot. That's actually a panorama. I think it's like 6 photos or something, and I think it's beautiful. And you can also see a little behind the scenes photo of me taking them, and it's different because there's no viewfinder on this. You have to hold it up like that, and it's kind of nice. Can kind of frame everything. So that's why I'm shooting like that. And I didn't get any photos of the last member of the band because, well, he did not want to be photographed at that moment. So we just got 4 members that day. The next shot is of Jeremy with CO2 around him, and the original edit of this actually, I think they posted it on their Twitter or something, but it didn't have, I'll flash a little bit of it here. This is the original edit, and you can see, you can't see the smoke as well, and it's in color, and I liked it better, black and white, and I brightened the side, because I think that smoke really frames him well, and that's my goal, is frame inside of a frame. I like to separate the subject from its surroundings to an extent where you can kind of pull them into your priority when you look at the image. They become the subject. And I think this image does a really good job of that. And there's a lot of clutter on stage, so it's a hard thing to do, at least for me. This next photo is just a mosh pit image, and I picked this photo because I think it really represents a crucial part of a Day to Remember show, and that is that they very much started out touring in clubs where there were no seats, and there was a lot of moshing and crowd surfing and crowd participation, and it's very much although it can look violent and can look scary, it's very much community oriented, and everybody there is to have a good time. You push around a little bit, but it's really on the cusp of violence, and there's never violence with intention. It's usually just accidental. So somebody gets punched in the face, accidental. It's kind of like when you go skiing. Sometimes you get hurt, but you're not going skiing to get hurt. The image after that is a photo of Kevin laying on the ground with confetti. And this image, I liked it because it's the end of the show, and you can know that because of all the confetti. And I like it because you can barely see the crowd in the background. And that is kind of cool to me. I like that he's the focus. Shot after that is Kevin on stage. And I like this image a lot, but at the same time, I also don't, there's some things I would change about this. I don't like that Jeremy's in the background there on the left, and I don't like the green tape on the cabs on the right, but I'm not going to edit it that intensely. However, this is probably my least favorite image of the group. It's a little bit too scattered for me, but again, with that wide crop intentionally because of the cinematic vibe. And keep in mind, everything in these images is intentional. I know it's a live concert, but my goal is to definitely create a very on-purpose image. Even though there's so much chaos, I like to arrange it. So when I'm shooting, I'm moving around a lot, and that's my way of controlling what's going on in the image. Lens choice, where I'm shooting from, exposure, ISO, aperture are all things that I have under my control. I can't control where the band goes, but I control where I go when they go there. This is Johnny. Johnny is the guitar tech for stage left, so if you're standing on stage, that is to your left. And he's not tuning a guitar, he's watching the stage to make sure nothing goes wrong with the guitars. So that is what that image is. And I like that you can see his workspace on the left there. That's kind of where he gets everything done. And on the right, you can see all of his guitars. And he just works for one member of the band. So each member of the band has their own tech. With the exception of Josh and Neil, they have a combined tech. However, everybody else has their own tech that helps them with everything that they can't handle during the live show. The next image, these are not in chronological order, but the next image is actually from the rehearsal day of the band. So before the tour starts, we have a few days where we rehearse, not me, the band rehearses what they're gonna do on tour. So, you know, they go through the set, they go through the pyro cues, there's no pyro but cryo cues, confetti, what's gonna happen, things that might come up. Transitions between songs is a big thing. So this is actually a manager. John and Mark are their managers. They're for a company called Fly South, and they're talking, and I like that you can visually see his motion of talking while the band is in the background. I think just one member is on stage, or maybe it's a tech, but I love that they're silhouetted and that they're kind of having a meeting while the band is doing a concert, and I thought that was cool, and it really represents their life. This next photo is a little different because I actually couldn't decide between the two. We got color, we got black and white, and I could not decide between which one. The color one is nice. I do like how you can see the Day to Remember sign in that one. I do wish there was a little bit more room below them, but this is kind of where we're at. And then the black and white one is nice. It's blown out, but it's kind of cool, and it's really hard to see what's going on here, but I think that was during a sound check day. And I don't remember if it was rehearsals or what it was. Jeremy, the singer, is laying down on his ego riser, they're called. So the thing they stand up on the front of the stage in order to get a little higher up than the normal stage. And he's laying down on there just kind of hanging out, and you can kind of see the microphone is right on his chest. The biggest thing you can do when you're critiquing your images is you never want to have two images that are the same. So that was the only exception, and I admitted I could not decide between them. But you want images to be different. You want them, you know, a lot of the times, especially when people start out, they post photos from a concert and it's like 10 photos of somebody in a similar position. Really? Pick one. Nobody wants to see it over and over. The next photo is Neil. He was training for triathlon for when he got home. So I went to the YMCA with him a few times. I think only twice, actually. One time we failed. That day, actually, we failed the first time. We went to the wrong YMCA and then went to that one, and we squeezed in about 45 minutes between some kids' swimming lessons. And he did 45 minutes of swimming. I sat on the side of my computer, got some work done, and when he was finished, I went over and took some photos. So that's him exhausted afterwards, and you can see his tools on the ground. The next photo is a group shot of A Day to Remember, and it's just in their dressing room before they go on stage, and you can tell that it's before they go on stage because they have their in-ears in, which are the things that play their music to them, what they're playing on stage while they're performing. You can see them in their ears, that's what those things are. And I was like, hey guys, let's get a group photo, and I think this photo really represents their personality. You've got Jeremy smiling in the front, kind of posted, Kevin with a more serious look, and Neil up to no good because he's putting a beer on Alex's head. Alex is looking at Jeremy, and that's his kind of like annoyed thing, but I think he was pretending that he was not annoyed. And Josh is just being his normal weird self with his hand on Alex's knee. I feel like your eye really travels. For me, it goes Jeremy, Kevin, Neil, Alex, Josh, and then right back to Jeremy. So it kind of goes in a circle, and that was kind of how, even though it's a simple photo, I really like that it just captures the band so well, and that it's, I don't know how that works. These are all things I think about. Again, I hope you don't think I'm conceited by the end of this. I just when I like a photo, I really like it, I'm passionate about it, and I want to let you know why I like the image. So that's what I'm doing, yeah. This next one, again, is playing with a little bit of open space here. I shoot this image every day from the stage or something because that's generally when somebody gets in the crowd, you know, every photographer raises their arm up, they try to get the photo over their shoulder with the kids, and I get it, that's cool, but I wanted to challenge myself to get something different, so I stood at the end of the venue and I got Jeremy with the spotlight with this microphone out and all the kids kind of raising their hands towards it, and I chose to put him in the corner there because I feel like it kind of shows that everybody, I don't know, it's just kind of cool. The crowd is what makes the show, so it's important to focus on them. Next, you just have a really solid shot of a guy crowd surfing. He's separated from everybody, and I like how he's on top, powerful, wearing a Day to Remember shirt, really separated from everyone, and yeah, I love fan photos, but it's hard to get good lit, well-lit ones. Then we have a panorama of their acoustic song, and I do shoot this every night in a similar way because it's hard to get perfect. Yeah, I like that shot a lot because you can see the whole audience, and you can see the two guys on stage, and it's a really big show, and you can see everybody's lights in the air, and I like the range of tones. There's a lot of highlights, there's shadows, there's everything in between, and nothing's really lost, even though it's a really dark show. And so this image down here, this one with the fist pound, this is the same image as before that I said I took from a different area, but this is from behind him, which is where I usually shoot it from. I like it. I like that he's about to fist bump somebody. He interacts with the crowd a lot, and I love to show that because I think that's where he really shines, and that's where he really connects with the audience, and that's why people really like this band. So I wanted to show it in a photograph. This is a shot of Alex, the drummer, and drummers are hard to photograph, and it's not very often I get a shot that is so well lit and so beautifully colored. And I have to thank Steve, their LD lighting designer. Obviously, could not do any of this stuff without him. I am there to capture the moment, but the moment is created by the band and the people working. I kind of feel like I should start crediting them in my photos because they're such an integral part of these images. It's not just me. But anyway, that was just a particularly good day. I got a lot of good photos from behind him on that. And this is the end of the set. You can always tell because of the confetti. I mean, I've worked a long time to get that access, so I really take advantage of it. To shoot behind the drummer is not something you can just walk up and do. That's just an image of me with the band. Well, we went out in New Orleans at night, and it was fun. So just hanging out with them, and our tour manager Marvin and some crew guys are there as well. And that's us on, what's this street? I don't know, Beale Street? The street. And Josh just went into a shop and got all this stuff for like 80 bucks and wore it, and yeah, it was funny. This is Jeremy after a festival, and he was just like, yeah, did it, like celebrating, and I loved it. So I got a shot of him, and it's not often that you get like a really good candid shot and it's technically correct, so there's nice depth of field, nice frame, nice light. So when it does happen and everything comes together, it's quite special for me, at least. And it's a special moment as well. So yeah, I like that. I like that a lot. Another one of Jeremy, and this is him standing at the front of the stage powerfully. I like that because I like how he towers over everybody. He's a very epic performer, and I feel like this really shows how larger than life he is. This is Alex, kind of in the zone. I think this has to be during sound check because it's so relaxed. And he's just kind of chilling there, probably waiting. The drums, he doesn't really like play a ton in between. He just kind of waits for the songs to start that they're going to check. And that's a little different than everybody else plays a lot and messes around it. He kind of just waits there. So that's him in his zone. And we have Josh over here playing. And I just think it's a beautiful photograph. I just like the depth of field, I like the frame, I like the tones, and I'm a sucker for black and white. A lot of people ask, you know, is there a reason you do black and white? Is there a reason you don't? And for me, it's like, if the colors aren't nice, I do black and white. If the colors are nice, I generally don't. And that is one where the colors were nice, but not as good as I wanted them to be. And here you have the end of the show, which is when they kind of do this thing where Josh he goes like this with the water. He drinks the water, takes the waters, and then he spits it out and hits waters together and then throws them in the crowd. So you can see he's about to hit them together, and he hits them together right when these two guys, Jeremy and Kevin, run and jump in the air. So it looks really cool, and I like motion blur. It's very intentional here because I like to show movement. I think a little bit of motion blur in live photos is amazing and helps a lot. And I encourage people to shoot with a lower shutter speed to capture that movement. This is a simple portrait, but it's just yellow. Well, it's yellow. I say that it's yellow because I looked up to Ryan Russell a lot when I was a kid. He was photographing Paramore and some other bands when I was like, maybe like 15. I was in high school. And I remember seeing pictures of Haley, or maybe it was Under Oath, somebody backstage, and they're always yellow. I was like, why are they yellow? And I think it's because the venue light and because he was shooting film, so his stuff looked a lot different. But this image reminded me of that, and I like that it's the two frontmen of the headlining band and the band that plays right before them together on the last day of tour. And I like that Jacoby is the guy on the left, and he's very much always Jacoby. He's always like, oof, let's go. Turned up and just ready to explode almost. And Jeremy's feeling good there. He got a cool look on his face. This last image is a little more fun. It's just Kevin with his friends, and Kevin likes to drink with his friends in Orlando. This is the hometown show. He actually had a party bus bring everybody down to the show that day. So this is him being carried by his friend. I think that's Joey. And I just thought that was a cool thing. And then the last photo is just everybody on the tour. So that's their whole crew. That's everybody we travel with. I think it's 3 buses total, and it looks about like 20 people. So you've got, lighting designers, tour manager, assistants, guitar techs, sound guys, everybody like that, full band, and then I am in there as well in the back right. And I didn't take this photo, but I did everything but press the shutter. That's pretty much the full thing. That's how I critique my work. That's why I like those photos, and why I don't like the photos. Every other photo I do not like, and it's basically because they lack the perfectness, the perfectness, whatever you want to call it. They lack that, and I do not like that. I strive for that. So I'm just constantly trying to push myself. I am very open to critiques. If you ever look at my images and you want to tell me what you do or do not like about them, let me know. I've heard enough compliments. I don't really need them anymore. I'm tired of it. So just beat me up, please. I'm just trying to get better. That's my goal. I don't need other people's help to feel good. I just need your help to help me improve. And if you ever want help, let me know. I will gladly critique your images. However, it's very important that, like I said at the beginning, make sure you separate yourself from your images, so that when somebody like myself or somebody else critiques you and they give you valuable information, you don't take it to heart and get upset, because then you might miss the content of what they're trying to deliver, and that would be detrimental to your learning process. So I encourage you to try to do that. Let me know if you have any questions. I guess you can leave a comment, and yeah. Alright guys, have a good one. Thank you so much, and I will see you next time. Alright, peace.